Impact reporting for nonprofits, hype or good practice? That's the topic for today. And maybe your first question is hypes and trends in reporting, in annual reporting for nonprofits. Is that a thing? Yes, it is a thing. And today I want to talk to you about the trend of impact reporting because it's something that I see, and probably you see it also more and more often. Those nice big reports where organizations are listing the sustainable development goals that they're contributing to, and then listing a lot of stuff that they've done to make those goals achievable for all of us on the planet altogether. And so maybe it feels to you like you need to get in on that trend too, because otherwise maybe people won't take you seriously anymore with the work that you do in your nonprofit. So let's have a look at what it means, impact reporting, and whether that's something that you can do too if you're a small nonprofit, and whether it's something that you should want to do as a small nonprofit or as any nonprofit for that matter. So first, let's look at what is impact actually, because how can we know if we want to report on that and how we can do that if we're not really clear on what that is? So impact is all about the change that is happening in the lives of the people who are participating in your activities, your participants, the people that you serve, the community that you serve. And this is not just any change, it is a lasting change. So it's something that will stay with them forever once it's created in them, in their lives. So what does that mean? For example, it is the difference between you organizing a reading class to teach people how to read, maybe basic reading, and then people starting to actually use the skill that they're able to read now, and they're expanding their vocabulary, they're maybe learning new words and new rules in language and how to say things, new expressions. Maybe they start feeling more confident because of all of that when they speak, even not just when they read. And maybe they're able to read textbooks, and maybe that way they're able to get a diploma, for example. Or maybe they're able to read the news and feel themselves like a well-informed citizen. Maybe they are able to read a novel and expand their horizon by reading about a fictional character, or maybe they're reading contemporary history and learning that way more about their history, their background, and that way maybe can imagine more of their future. So all of those things are the impact that might come out of the reading class. Yeah, it starts with being able to read, but the impact is not being in the class. It's not getting a certificate for being in the class. It's not even being able to read one thing in the class. It's about this confidence and about how they use the skill and how they expand the skill later on and what that brings them in life. Confidence, maybe a different role in the society from the one that they would otherwise have had. And when I sketch this for you, you probably already sense that it can be quite hard to actually report on this, because it means that we need to follow those people for a long period of time in order to be able to see how the reading class is actually developed into them using the skill of reading for reading, maybe debating, maybe presenting, maybe for leadership positions, right? So it takes time, and time is actually one of the key challenges in impact reporting, because impact doesn't usually happen during your project period, even if you have a 4-year project period, which not many of us have. But if you do have a project grant for 4 years, then even within that time, it might not really be possible to see impact and to create impact in the first place and then to report on that. So it means that you need to keep in touch with people for a long time, and you need to get information from them that will help you understand what is the impact that's happening in their life. And that time aspect makes it challenging, because We all know that most nonprofits, small or big, are pressed for time. There's never enough time to do all the things that need doing today. And so keeping in touch with people year after year after year, when they're not in our programs anymore, that's not really like top priority for allocating time to, right? I think I'm right. So the second challenge with impact reporting, because it's not only time, is also attribution. And attribution, you could already sense that maybe also in my example, is the problem of, can we be sure that all of this impact is created by this one activity, this one project that we did, this reading class? So how can you show the chain of logical consequences from the reading class to wherever those people are now, reading novels, maybe writing novels, maybe they've become a journalist, maybe they've become a politician, maybe they've become a leader, maybe they're just a parent who's able to help their kids with their homework, right? That's key too. We tend to talk about higher offices, but parents who help their kids with homework are actually quite key in any society. Yeah, so maybe they're doing that. Maybe they're just being happy that they can follow the news and can form their own opinion and can discuss about that and can find their way in society because of that. Yeah, so but how can you be sure that this one class actually caused all of that when people are doing so many things, right? Maybe they were not just in your reading class, maybe they were also in a presentation class. Maybe they were also doing a technical class and they're all the time being asked to explain to the other kids. Maybe they had a role model who told them like, wow, you should really invest in better presentation skills and being better able to express yourself because you have so many wisdoms inside of you that people need to hear. Yeah, so it could be that there are many factors that could have created the desire to develop a skill and to use the skill, to apply it, and then to find a way in society where this can impact others again, right? So it's very difficult to prove that was your specific activity, that particular class, that caused all of that. And that's called attribution. And that makes it very challenging to say, yeah, this is our impact. We did that, not you. We did that. And that's super important to understand that it's not so easy to do that because our lives are not a straight line from A to B to C and so on and so forth. Your own life is probably also a little bit messy like that, where things happen like that and where many different factors have contributed to you being where you are now, watching a video about impact reporting for nonprofits, right? So there could be a lot of things that have happened in your life, and it might be difficult for you to say it was that one thing, that one person, that one course, that one book that I read, that one thing that I heard on the news. It's impossible almost, right? Especially if it's happening over time. People tend to forget some things. They tend to mix the order of things. So it's becoming very difficult to get a grip on that. Yeah, so who am I to talk about all this stuff and to actually hopefully look like I love it, like I do? I'm Suzanne Bakker. I'm a nonprofit operations strategist, and I love everything to do with annual reporting. And that's because it combines practical things with strategical things. And I really love to go from practical to strategic and back and forth and back and forth. I also in this channel talk about other operations topics like finance, admin, HR, contracting, project design, fundraising, and more. So if you're interested in that, just make sure that you subscribe to my channel so you get a notification whenever a new video appears. That should be every week. And you can also follow the link below in the description to join my newsletter list so that you can receive my newsletters once or twice a week and catch up on operations trends and just real life stories of nonprofit operations that I see in my work every day. So let's go back now to nonprofit annual reporting and impact reporting. So we looked at two challenges related to reporting on impact: time, the timeline, the time lapse, and attribution. And then the third one is very closely related to that, and that is something that you might have sensed also from the story, and that is proof. And so, how can we even prove that this impact is there? Yeah, it's easy to say, the impact is there. The person has become a politician, so it's a big impact. That might be so, but still, it can sometimes be very tricky to prove impact. For example, an important part in learning to read, especially if you are working with people that are a little bit older, confidence is a super important aspect of learning to read. And confidence is something that has an impact if they get it through knowing how to read finally and feeling that they can, take part in society, which is very much depending on people being able to read these days, online also. So that might give people a sense of confidence, like they can feel now, yeah, I'm playing a role in society. I can read. I'm really able to participate, right? But what does confidence look like? How can you prove confidence? How can we show that somebody has confidence who didn't have that? You need to almost be a scientist to be able to show that, right? So that's also a challenge with impact reporting, that sometimes it feels like it's simply beyond what we as small nonprofits can do in terms of the time that we need to be able to follow people and the information that we need to get from them, all the maybe research about logical consequences and attributions. And then also we need to do maybe research about how to show even things, how to prove that this thing even exists in the real world, right? So that seems to be like too complex, too big a task, and impossible for nonprofits, especially smaller ones. And it is a challenge, but the good news is that you don't need to go that way. You can show impact. I'm not saying you can prove impact, but you can show impact and make people feel the impact if you do a very simple thing. And that simple thing is simply go to people, talk to them, interview them, use good techniques like maybe the most significant change approach or appreciative inquiry to get really those people talking about what's going on in their lives, what has been different, and how that has come about, without talking about who made it possible, but what happened and what happened then and what happened because of that, and so on and so forth. People can talk about that. People don't even need to have been in a reading class to be able to talk about that. Yeah, people, if you ask the right questions, people can tell you things, and people can tell you stories about impact that has happened in their lives, and you can then see like, yeah, that could be impact that might have something to do with us. We cannot maybe claim that it was just us, but we can say it was them and it was also us. We also contributed to this impact in this person's lives, in this community, and so on and so further, right? That is possible, and that's something that even small nonprofits can do, because anybody can set up interviews with people who are now in your program, people who were in your program maybe 5 years ago, and just interview them, let them talk, write it all up, and make sure that you get a good story out of that for your annual report, right? So that could be your way of reporting on impact in your annual report. It's not so hard, right? And I think you will want to do that, because if you're able to share those stories, that's where actually the dream and the heart of the reader will match and will touch your activities in the past year that you're reporting on in your annual report. And that's when they will feel like, this is what I want for the world. This is my desire. This is my vision and mission in this world that I want to contribute to. And that's a story that is exactly the thing that I want to make possible, the thing that I would like to contribute to, the thing that would make me proud to be a part of. Yeah, so that's why reporting on impact is super important and super powerful. But don't start calling your report an impact report now, because most organizations that use the term impact report are using it for a report that is all about how they're contributing to the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it's a great thing, but reporting in such a way that it still goes back to the numbers, like how many people, where were those people, what did they do? So it becomes all about them and not about the change in the lives of the people. And the most powerful thing that you can offer in your annual report is to show how you and your colleagues from other organizations maybe have been able to impact on the lives of the people that you've been working with, and what that even means for the whole community, the whole society, and ultimately the world as a whole. So that's what I would suggest you do. Just make your good old annual report with all the key ingredients that I outlined for you in my other video, and then make sure to add a lot of stories based on good interviews using techniques like most significant change to really get to the bottom of impact in people's lives and show that to people, right? That's what's going to make them enthusiastic. If you want to know what makes me enthusiastic and what I see when I read your report, then join me in the next video where I will explain why I love reading but also creating annual reports for nonprofits. See you then.